Just as a gardener nurtures the seed to grow into a strong and healthy plant, we at IAD use a combination of treatments from allopathy, Ayurveda, and homeopathy to nurture and take care of you, eradicating your lymphatic diseases. Our journey to provide you with the best treatment sees us collaborate with leading doctors from around the globe. Our chief mentor, Dr. Prof Ryan, Professor of Dermatology at Oxford, honored us with his presence recently.
Professor, please share your thoughts on how integrated medicine really helps in treating lymphedema.
What one has to do in order to reduce the swelling, a swelling which is partly due to fluid, but is also due to overgrowth of the tissues. Much of these really big legs, there's a hypertrophy or an increase in fibrotic tissue, there's an increase in the surface of the skin, there's an increase in fat, there's an increase in everything. There's an overgrowth of the tissues as well as a collection of lymphedema, and that has to be reversed. The cause of all that is a blockage or failure of the lymphatic system. So the steps to get the lymphatic system to work is to, first of all, to get it to flow. And as the whole lymphatic system drains into the big veins of the upper chest, and that's partly controlled by breathing, you've got to teach breathing. Then, in order to get the lymph to move from the tissues up into the chest, you have to have movement. And you have to teach patients to move well. And instead of poor posture or bent up, you need to straighten them up. And you need, in order to get lymphatic flow, all the things that yoga does, which is to teach them good movement, good posture, and breathing in a synchronized way. That's to get the lymphatics to flow. One of the problems is that the lymphatics are overloaded, and they're overloaded by a very damaged skin which has become infected with bacteria and has many entry points for bacteria. So you have to have washing, emollients, and soaks to deal with that infection, and that is provided by the herbals of Ayurveda. Then in addition, there's overload from the fact that the people with heavy limbs tend not to move very much. They tend to just sit with their legs down. And this allows the venous system to overload, to fill up, and to overload the system. You've got to get that mobilized and probably elevated as well. So that's another step, is dealing with the overload from the venous system. So I've described 3 steps basically. Getting the lymphatics to move, mostly through using yoga. Dealing with the overload, one of which is from inflammation and infection, and the other is from the venous system. And I think that's the basic therapy that I suggested in my original paper, and which is mostly being carried out. Now, in addition, there are other steps probably taking place which we don't fully understand. And how is it that we're reversing this process? I can understand how we're getting rid of the fluid, but how are we reversing this huge overgrowth of tissue? And has Ayurveda got something which we haven't got in biomedicine? In those herbs, are there chemicals and other materials which have an effect which we don't yet understand? So I think that there's work to be done.